today's video we are going to start off with a landscape painting, but first we got to go over the paint colors.
This castle color. We have a coffee bean, French linen, olive green, golden sunset, country twill.
I might like that one.
And raw umber.
Can you give me a tissue?
Oh, that's one way to do it.
What?
Just threw the paintbrush at it.
So I personally like to use acrylics to paint, and the first thing I do is I wet my paintbrush. I dip it in a little bit of color, whether that's a white, a cream. In this case, I'm using that first color I shared, which is called Castle. It's the Folk Art brand of acrylics. I got those from Hobby Lobby. They were really inexpensive there. But I'm basically just kind of painting this on in different directions, giving a very moody sky because I wanted it to look like a cloudy sky. But in order to kind of create the layers, you have to layer on your paint as best as you can. And I like to use the water because it helps you smooth out any like harsh lines. It's definitely time to invest in an easel, especially if I'm going to paint any more large landscapes like this, because the whole painting just kept sliding off the chair. But, you know, sometimes you just got to work with what you got. But I will say this is the first big painting I've ever done. I typically paint like 11 by 14 or smaller. And if you are a beginner painter, you have to paint on a bigger canvas. I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It's so much easier to paint anything when you have a larger area to work with. I always thought like the bigger the canvas, the more work, but really it's so much easier because you can see what you're doing a lot better. Okay, so at this point I've mixed a couple different colors together to create multiple different beige colors. I wanted it to be very layered, have look like there's layers and layers of clouds on the sky. So at this point I'm taking a tissue and I'm kind of buffing in all those colors together to kind of blend them together. And it's really funny because some of you actually commented over on Instagram saying that this looked like a stone slab in the background, because I shared a quick little picture of it on Instagram and y'all were like, oh, is that a countertop? I was so embarrassed. I was like, no way. But I mean, I can see it. Who knows, maybe I should paint my countertops like this. But I will say, with every painting, you just have to trust the process. It's not always going to be perfect at first. It's going to look a little crazy, but just trust the process. That is the key. At this point now, I'm just taking my paintbrush and stippling on a little bit of that dark gray that I mixed with a little bit of green. So I kind of created like a grayish green to give the illusion of rain clouds. That was the goal. So I wanted to add some more of that dark color, and then I'll just keep going in with the lighter colors and blending it out. Clouds are really tricky, to be honest. I've noticed that sometimes I can do them really well, and then sometimes I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Start over. And don't ever worry. If you ever are painting and you mess up with acrylics, what's great about them is once they dry, paint right over it back with white and just start over. So since I use acrylics, I'm able to kind of add a little bit of water to it to help kind of blend things out. But always keep in mind that the more water you add, the more it is likely to kind of run down. So you'll notice that sometimes I add too much and you'll start to see those drips. Once again, like I said earlier, do not panic. Just take a piece of tissue or take your paintbrush and kind of just stipple right over those areas, and it'll clean that water right up, and it actually creates almost like a watercolor effect. I think it just turns out really pretty, and everything just kind of flows so nicely. Well, now's a good time for me to add. I am completely self-taught with painting, okay? So I've never taken any art classes or anything like that, so please do not take advice from me. I probably do not know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure if you are an artist and you're watching this right now, you're probably cringing at the fact that I'm adding water and there's drips running down my painting. But I don't know, it always turns out okay, and that's just how I've always done it. At this point, I'm adding those fine details. I'm taking a really tiny paintbrush and I'm just kind of marking out where I want the grassy area to start and end. And I also kind of add like a little mountain up here going up to the top. And I'm taking a larger paintbrush mixed with a little bit of water, some brown greens, and I'm just blending all these colors together to create all that depth that's really important when you're painting a painting in general. I feel like the more layers you have, the better and better it's going to look.
Tell me what it feels like to let go. everything you thought you'd ever known, all of the promises they broke. Tell me what it feels like to let go. Tell me what it feels like to break free, when all of the things you thought you needed, they turn into dust and make believe. Tell me what it feels like to break free. Tell me what it feels like to be true, when even the smallest parts of you aren't worried about what people think. Tell me what it feels like to break.
This next step was extremely important, so I wanted to explain what I'm doing here. So I noticed that the clouds were not looking like clouds. It just kind of looked like a marble countertop. So I took some white paint, and it's the only white I had on hand. It's actually not even acrylics. I just went out to my paint stash. This is white paint that you use on your walls, y'all, okay? And I took that white paint and I was kind of dabbing on the clouds to make them look like actual clouds. Also, I just gotta say, and I try really hard not to toot my own horn or like, brag or anything like that, because I don't want to ever be that person that comes off as like super cocky, because I am 99% of the time, I am winging it. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. I get lucky sometimes, and this is one of those moments. Y'all, I killed it with these clouds. I'm not gonna lie, these look so good. These are the best clouds I've ever done in my life. Also, I think a lot of it had to do with the type of paintbrush I was using too. This is the first time I've ever used this particular paintbrush. This is actually for chalk paint, but I feel like it has the perfect texture to create a soft effect. And so using that wall paint, I was able to kind of go in a circular motion to create softness, because you don't want it to be too harsh of lines. You don't want it to look like you stippled on the white paint. You can kind of see my hand, but I'm going in like a circular motion very lightly over the grayish brown clouds that I made, and that's what gave the illusion of those soft, flowy, fluffy clouds. Definitely will be using this paintbrush in the future.
I try to figure out who I am. Not sure what I'm doing here, and the days don't work out the way I thought they would. And before you there was no one who understood. Never found somewhere I fit in. Until I met you I was feeling lost, but you're the one who can make it go away. All you have to do is look at me. Sometimes I can't breathe, but it feels like you're the one who saves me. When I try but don't succeed, yeah, it feels like you're the one who
This is the next day. I let the canvas fully dry overnight, and now I'm adding in the oak trees, which was extremely terrifying. If you have ever painted before, you know that whenever you are done with your canvas, and now it's time to add in those fine details. That is when it's really challenging because there is so much potential to mess up all of your hard work. I have done that so many times. I have painted some of the most beautiful sunsets and ruined it with like botchy trees. Oh, I can't even, I should show you guys some of them. It's really funny actually, because I do get pretty mad. I'm not gonna lie, especially whenever I'm like working really hard on something and I go to fix a small tiny little mistake and I accidentally go in too heavy and then it turns into like just this muddy mess. Oh, it's so frustrating. I get so mad and I just want to cry. But I know that happens. You know, they're not always going to work out. And I have been recently trying to teach myself when to stop, because I will keep messing with things and just keep adding and keep adding. And that's where I mess up, because I never know when to stop. And I actually started to do that with this painting. I kept adding more and more shadows. And I was like, oh man, at one point I added a shadow and it got too dark and I thought I was headed down the wrong path. So I was like, you know what? Nope, stop where you are, stop adding, give it a day, add a frame to it, and then see how it looks. And something I've shared before in the past is if you're ever painting something and you don't love the way it looks, the end result, put it in a frame. Putting it in a frame, it turns it from a basic painting into a work of art. It really does elevate it in so many ways. All the colors just pop better and it just looks incredible. So if you're ever just feeling like, oh, this is not my best work, make sure you put it in a frame before you start judging.
I'm trying my best to hold on. It's not easy, but I'm feeling stronger with you. And the days don't work out the way I thought they would. And before you there was no one who understood. Sometimes
I can't see, but it feels like you're the one who saves me. When I try, but don't succeed. Yeah, it feels like you're the one who saves me. The one who saves me. No, I can't get enough of what you do. No, I can't get enough of what you do. Enough of what you do.
I'll give you my everything. It's not much, but it's all I have.
You know we could run to a place where we belong, but I need you there with me to go on. Sometimes I can't see, but it feels like you're the one who saves me. When I try, but don't succeed. Yeah, it feels like you're the one who saves me. The one who saves me. No, I can't get enough of what you do. The one who saves me. Yeah, it feels like you're the one who saves me. The one who saves me.
Please, just tell me what's on your mind. 'Cause I don't have time to figure it out. We haven't been our best for long. I think that we're just holding on to something.